Ron, can you state your name and date of birth, please?
Sure. My name is Ron Ballatore, and my date of birth is May 17th, 1942.
Thank you, sir. I'm so glad you came today. When people reminded me that you were the chief of police for quite a while, I thought, oh man, this will be a good interview. If there's anyone that's got some stories, dirt, or whatever from the early days.
I'm not too big on dirt, but I got a few stories.
I bet you do. Well, when did you move here, Ron?
We moved here in the fall of 1977.
1977. Wow. From where?
Long Beach, California.
Oh, no kidding. And why'd you end up here?
Well, my wife and I both grew up in Phoenix.
Okay.
My wife was born in Phoenix.
All right.
And at the time, her brother Rick was living here. And he said, hey, you ought to come over here and check this out. It's a pretty neat town. Pretty nice place to live. So we did.
He was part of the mine? Was he a mine?
No.
Okay.
No, he was part of the hippie invasion.
Oh, no kidding. Say, hey, prices are cheap and the view is great.
View is great. People are great. He said, check it out. So we did. Are you familiar with the house that Mike Butcher lives in?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's where he was living at the time.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, behind the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty big house. So we stayed there with him for a couple of months and basically fell in love with the place.
Yeah. What were you doing in Long Beach?
I worked for Sears.
No kidding.
I was one of them turquoise vans that drives around and fixes your appliances.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So you fell in love with the place, and what was it like when you came here? How many people do you figure were here when you got here?
Probably right about 200.
And so that's 1977.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like a 50-50 mix of old-timers and newcomers?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's pretty accurate.
Well, I've heard, stories about the old-timers who didn't quite feel comfortable with all the new people. Did you feel any of that?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah? Well,
Lots.
Can you describe some of that?
Well, we looked at a house we were thinking about buying. They still, I think, may still call it the $1 Million View house. But they used to.
The Eagle's Nest?
No, just down the street.
Okay.
Back down in towards town. There's a little curve there that's real sharp and real narrow.
Oh, yeah.
That's the house. On the uphill side of that. That's the house.
Okay.
And next door to who used to be Danny Vladich's folks.
I just painted that house.
Yeah. Used to be his folks and him lived there.
Yeah, he lives there now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were in there looking at the house, and the story was immediately that some big biker.
That would be you.
That would be me, and my wife was wearing some turquoise jewelry that day, and she became. What the heck did they call? Oh, I guess they said she was either a hippie or a Mexican. Couldn't tell, because she at that time we lived fairly close to the beach in California,
right?
And she was pretty tan, so that was the story. Some big biker and his Mexican wife are looking at the
property.
The property.
Everybody needs to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's our first introduction to Jerome.
No kidding. Well, as you were here a while, did you? So your brother, was it your brother or brother-in-law?
My wife's brother.
Your wife's brother. So your brother-in-law, and so you.
He lives in Cottonwood now.
He was part of the hippie invasion.
That went on for a while yet after we got here.
Yeah, that was pretty, actually when it was getting started, I imagine.
That's kind of part of the reason we moved up here.
Because?
Because I liked those folks.
So you were one of the suspicious newcomers in a sense.
Right.
Did it take a while to feel comfortable, where the old timers started to loosen up a little bit?
Yes.
It did take a while. Huh?
Yes.
What do you think their impression was?
I don't know. I was somehow connected to the rest of them damn hippies.
Right.
You know, that would be my guess.
And the hippies were just drug guys and didn't work and
All of that stuff,
that
yeah.
lazy
It's
stuff.
completely different from the old timers.
Right.
Absolutely. But yeah, it took time, but after a while I got pretty friendly with almost everybody.
Yeah. Well, consider they'd been through quite a traumatic experience with the mine closing down,
yeah.
and their livelihood disappeared, and they're
yeah.
kind of just left high and dry. And then properties values go down, and then all the hippies are buying stuff cheap. It must have been a little scary.
It was quite a transition period, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what did you do for work when you first got here?
Nothing.
Oh, yeah? It was that cheap to live that you...
No, oh no. I was only, I would say,
Yeah, how
6,
old were
8
you?
weeks. I was 35 years old.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah.
And I had some profit sharing from Sears
Okay.
when I left. So I had money to live on and figure out where we were going to live and what I was going to do.
Right.
And the first job offer that I got was from the town, from the police chief at the time,
Who was...
Larry Garrison.
Okay.
Okay, and he wanted to hire me,
As...
policeman.
Oh, okay.
No background whatsoever for me, but a job's a job,
Yeah.
and I didn't see that there maybe were going to be a lot more offers,
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't that many people or things to do here.
Sure.
So I took the job. Starting pay was $300 a month.
Holy cow.
And there was, at the time, he had 3 officers. One had just quit, and the second one was having some medical issues, and he quit fairly shortly thereafter because of them. And it was just the 2 of us. It's interesting.
I bet. Well, 200 people seems like 2 guys could handle that.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes not.
But you were kind of associated with the hippie invasion, and did you have long hair at the time?
Oh, not collar length.
Okay. You saw something in you.
I don't know. Whatever it was, I think he didn't see anybody else. I don't know.
It can work both ways, huh?
Yeah, but it worked out. He
And so you went right into the police department and didn't never ever worked another job in town?
not prior to that, no.
Wow.
That was my first job in town.
And that was like the first year you were here.
Mm-hmm. That was let's see, probably within 3 to 4 months after we moved here. After we got here.
Wow.
Fortunately, I liked the town a lot, and there were a lot of people here that I liked, or that liked me. We were friendly. It seemed comfortable. My kids loved it here. I had my oldest daughter was in the 8th grade, and my youngest daughter was in 6th grade. And they both were, went to school in Clarkdale, which is still the school for Jerome.
Right. So the school here had closed down.
I think, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think at the time the kids first got here, there was maybe, 6, 8 kids from Jerome going to school down in the valley.
Yeah.
At the Clarkdale school, and there was probably a few more in high school, but not many. It was just a few kids on the bus.
Yeah. Well, so what did you like about it? Why was it so refreshing?
Well, the first thing that I liked about it, although there was nothing wrong with, I liked California as far as the beaches and the climate and things like that, but there were many more things that I didn't like much at all, such as the smog. I was out driving up and down the freeways in that smog all day, every day. And I had a headache almost every day, and it just really got worse as time went on. We got there in 63, and we left in 77. And it was just getting worse, and the traffic was miserable. And the area that I had to work in included Compton. And the thing that finally did it for me was I was up working in Compton when Watts riots erupted.
Wow.
And I had to be escorted out by the National Guard.
No kidding.
And I told my wife, I said, you know what? This is enough.
Right.
You know, this is enough.
Yeah.
And she agreed. You know, the only thing, she'd still move back there because she just loves the beach. And we were close enough that she could get in the car and be at the beach in 10 minutes. So.
Right.
And the kids, you know, she'd take the kids down there every day. And
Yeah.
and Long Beach was a pretty good place to be in Southern California.
Oh, sure. At that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up on the water myself. I miss it too.
But I really enjoyed here. You know, I enjoyed living here. The only reason we left when we did, which was 2004, towards the end of 2004, was my wife, bless her heart, she said, you know, we're not getting any younger. And our house in particular had 26 steps going up to the front door.
Yeah.
And
Which one did you end up buying?
Donna Chesler bought it from us. It's that gallery.
Oh, 527?
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just painted there for the new Vina Zona Ginger. Just took the lease over because Donna sold it.
She sold that building?
Yep.
God, she's had it for sale forever.
Yeah. Finally sold it to an artist from Sedona and moved the gallery out. So I know that house pretty well now.
Hmm. I know it fairly well.
I bet you do. Well, it's got a nice little yard in the back and a beautiful view. What a place to live.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Huh, I didn't know that.
Best front porch in town. Really entertaining.
No. Yes, you're right at the junction there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, cool. And so you bought that soon after you got your job as a policeman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to ask what you bought it for, because it's probably a song.
Actually, it was not a song, but it was a good price.
It was a medley?
Yeah. We paid $40,000 for it.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. That's a little more than I would expect at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
But it seems like a nice little place. Seems
It is.
well constructed.
It was.
It's still hanging together pretty
Yeah.
good compared to most.
Yeah. Our next door neighbor on one side was Jerome,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which he's a nice guy.
Oh, yeah. He's on my list, probably one of the next 5 people.
Well, he was here when we got here. He's been here longer than
Oh, no
than we were.
kidding.
Yeah. And let's see, on the other side was Francisco and Petra Lomeli.
Don't know of them.
They were extremely old timers. And that was the Jerome Market.
Oh, right.
And downstairs, they lived upstairs, and downstairs was his little market. And he was a butcher, so he had a meat counter.
And it was still going with 200 people in town, huh?
Well, no, he had just closed it not very long before that.
Okay.
He was getting old, and it was, hard on him.
Yeah.
So he was actually a very nice old fellow. He was kept to himself, wasn't real gregarious. But I told him, I said, if you have a problem and you need something, I'm right here next door. Just give me a call. I gave him my phone number, and he did call me a couple of times for one thing and another.
Yeah.
His wife was a very small man, and his wife was a pretty good sized lady. And she fell out of bed one night.
Oh, boy.
And he called me and he said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I told him, I said, don't worry. I said, let me get somebody to help me and be right over. And fortunately, at the time, Dave Moore, who was the chiropractor in town, he just lived up the street in that wedge where the Flatiron building is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived a couple doors farther up the street.
Okay.
And I called Dave, and he's a super nice guy. And we were on the fire department together for years.
Okay.
I said, Dave, come help me. Petra fell out of bed, right? And Francisco can't get her back in bed. So he came down, and we got her up and put her back in bed. And she told us something nice, like, get the hell out of my house or something. Well, she didn't speak much English, so I'm not sure exactly what she said. But and one other time for something else, you know.
Yeah.
I don't remember just what it was. But
What was the? I'm curious about the businesses and the artists and the people who were here at that time. People that you.
well,
What was going on in town and who was doing
it's the
it?
same thing on a smaller scale, but it was almost all local. It wasn't people from Sedona and people from wherever some of these folks live around. They don't live in Jerome, some
Like,
of them.
you know,
you know.
from all over the world
Yeah.
these days. Yeah.
And so it was, let's see, there was a guy, the house, if you right across the street from what used to be the House of Joy,
Yes.
John and Mary's place, okay, right across the street, and just the last building before you get to that, what is now a parking area,
Yeah.
okay? Well, that's the slide area, is what that is.
Right.
That's where everything slid down the mountain. And that building was owned by a guy named Shorty Powell. And he was an artist. And he was a character, too. You know, and he lived in there, and he also, whatever, you know, he just painted and did all kinds of stuff. And he was actually pretty talented. And he sold his stuff out of that building, and he lived there for, probably the first 8 or 10 years we lived here.
Huh? There were enough tourists coming through to
No,
support local
not really.
artists? Yeah.
Not really, but almost. It was
Yeah.
just getting started, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then guys like Dave Hall, who is a very good potter. He's an excellent artist.
Yes.
You know,
I got him coming up.
you got
too.
him coming up. Well, he's my good friend. He's my brother practically. you
Oh,
know.
no kidding.
Oh, we were on the fire department together for the whole 28 years I was on the fire department.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm very fond of Dave.
Yeah. No, he's a good guy.
And Jane Moore. He and Jane have been working together for years.
Right.
She's also a potter, and she's also an artist. And
So he had a shop, same place he is today?
oh no,
No.
he was in the Flatiron group there.
Oh, I know where he was. The older woman, I can't remember her name, who has it next to the Flatiron. She's got
Yeah,
gray hair.
she's been there forever. Yeah.
But I think Dave, he was next door to her.
That's correct.
That's right.
And that building, Phil Tovey owns that building now. It's just empty.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, he was there when I moved here.
and Dave Hall was right there. It's kind of hard to tell which one of those places his apartment was part of. You know, I mean,
Right.
I think it was part of the where Dave's pottery shop was.
Right.
You know, they're all right wall to wall and close together, and
Yes.
and they come out on both sides
on the backside and the
yeah.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell. But Dave Hall had his shop there, and Dave Moore was just behind and a little below.
Okay.
You know, maybe this far below.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else was in town? Oh, Ashley Hofstetter.
I've heard of Hofstetter, but not
Ashley
Ashley.
Hofstetter.
What did she do?
He.
Ashley is a guy. Okay, excuse me.
It's all right. And his house, you know, Rich Street.
Yes.
That's the street that my garage is on, which was right across from
Yep.
my house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you go down Rich Street, the first building on your left after my garage.
Yep.
That was his house,
Okay.
and he was a pretty well known Western artist. I mean, he would do things like do a painting, you know, good sized painting of a herd of cattle and cowboys moving them from place to place, you know, and all kinds of stuff. He was a really, really good artist and a fairly well known artist.
Must have sold to other places, huh? In Sedona or Phoenix.
Oh yeah, he
that
probably
kind
in
of thing.
Sedona. They had
Yeah.
the Artists Association over there was
Right.
quite a number of Western artists,
Yeah.
very well known. Let's
Go
see.
ahead.
That's another artist that was here. And then if you consider a musician an artist, which I'm sure I do, Katie Lee was here.
I was pointing at my instruments.
Oh yeah, I saw those when I came in.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Katie Lee.
you want to talk about a character?
Oh, I knew her a little bit.
There
Yeah.
was a character.
I bet she was even more feisty back in the 70s
I'm sure.
because she was involved with all the dam.
Damn.
The damn.
That was her
dam
license
issues.
plate.
Yes.
Damn. And if she had an opinion, she would gladly share it with you, whatever it was.
Right.
You
Did
know?
she live at the same house?
Same
she
house.
And Joey were.
Same house.
Yeah.
Same house. And she and Joey were a pair then, you know, right up.
Right up
To the end.
unfortunate end. Yes.
Another one of my favorite people. And let's see, I guess, would you consider a chef to be an artist?
I absolutely would.
Okay,
Well, you know.
then there was John Dempsey,
Oh, okay.
which, bless his heart, I hear he just died a
Yes,
few
he
days
did.
ago.
I was trying to get him. I was going to have him this week.
Oh,
Yeah, and
you missed a good one.
I know. I called Michael Higgins because Mike rode bikes with him all the time.
Yep.
And I had left a message for John to call me back, and I knew he didn't know who I was, so I called Michael and said, "Hey, can you call him and give me an introduction because I'd like to. I got some time this week." And the day after that is when he passed.
He was 95 years old.
Yep. And still riding his damn bike around
Oh,
town.
yeah. You know, I can remember when John used to, he'd start in Jerome, and he'd go up over the mountain, down to Prescott Valley, up Highway 89, and then he'd turn and he'd go towards Flagstaff. And maybe in Williams or,
Yeah.
he'd stop for the night.
Up through Chino.
Stop for the
Chino Valley.
night and get up in the morning, ride into Flagstaff, and then he'd come down Oak Creek Canyon and home. Mary would meet him sometimes in Flagstaff, and they'd spend the night, and then she'd kind of keep an eye on him going home. But that man was unbelievable on that bicycle.
I know.
So
Yeah, even this past year, I've seen him tooling around on it. Couldn't believe it.
now,
Now, that was his business back then? The House of Joy was his whole
the
deal?
House of Joy was one of the finest restaurants in Arizona.
I remember it was hard to, there were only like 4 or 5 tables, and it took a couple months for a reservation.
Maybe
to come.
7 or 8 tables.
Okay.
But hard to get in.
Yes.
And he didn't care, just give me a call. I'll call you back when I get around to it. Or Mary would usually be the one that called back. John was, he kind of put up a real grumpy front. But he had a heart of gold. Absolute heart of gold.
And that basically was their business, the
Little restaurant.
trinket shop in the front and the restaurant. But
Oh,
I don't
no,
even
that
know
was
if
the restaurant.
Yeah, the trinket shop wasn't
No, it
there
wasn't.
as it is now.
It wasn't.
That's right.
That-
I ate there once, long time ago. One time.
Did ya?
And had to wait like a month and a half
Oh, yeah.
before. Yeah.
Well, John was a funny guy. Mary asked me one time, she said, "What is your favorite Italian meal?" And I said, "Mary, that's easy." I said, "My grandmother used to make it for me. It's called gnocchi, or gnocchi, either way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically little potato dumplings.
Yeah.
And you cook them up like you do dumplings, and
Whoops.
there's your cricket."
Excuse me.
Sure.
We got to stop for a second.
Okay,
Ron.
sure. Well, we killed the first half hour.
Oh, this is going
Pretty dang quick.
This is going great. You comfortable?
Sure I am.
Good.
You're a comfortable kind of guy.
I'm pretty friendly.
So where'd you come from with your sister when you came here?
Kind of. We both went to high school in Phoenix. I went to ASU, NAU, and ASU. We were born in Virginia, though.
Yeah.
And grew up in Florida, so I know the water really well.
See if you can find any around here.
Yeah. We both wish. I wish I had a stairway down to a dock down here behind my house. Then it'd be perfect. It was pretty damn perfect. Anyway.
Well, you could put one in down there.
Might not do me much good.
You're gonna have a little trouble getting water to it, but
yeah, the boat would be. Okay, what do we got going here? Okay, still got some juice. Gonna hit record again, and this one's fine. It's got plenty of power, so we're gonna let that one go. I'm gonna do another clap. And we'll get back on it.
okay.
Set my timer again. Okay, sorry for the interruption.
Not a problem.
So where were we?
Oh, we were talking about John Dempsey.
Yeah. And I can't believe you made a living just off of 5 tables.
Oh, let me tell you,
a
that
night.
food was so good.
I remember.
So good. And Mary, John was the cook, was the chef. He was the cook.
Yeah.
He didn't come out front. Okay. But Mary, and she is absolutely a sweet, sweet lady.
You think she'd talk to me and do this?
Oh, I'm sure she would.
Okay.
I'm sure she would. And now, John was they came from San Francisco.
Okay.
I don't know. Prior to that, I don't know where he's from. His name, he called himself Juan Dempsey. Okay, and he could cook all this food, and it was so delicious. Muffins, oh God, they were good, and soups, and bread. Those were his specialties.
Okay. So he sold bread in addition. Just
No, he did no.
Just
You
for
got
the dinner.
yeah. He didn't sell anything to take out.
Okay.
But, and I'll tell you, this is my favorite story about John Dempsey. Okay, my wife and I had been here a few months. When we came here, my wife had been having some medical issues, and they had been going on for several years over in California, and nobody could seem to figure out just what her problem was. And she was not well at all. So when I got here to Jerome, I don't remember who I asked now. It's been so long ago. But I was asking around, is there a good doctor down in the valley? And I heard this same, yes, go see Dr. Stump. His name is Juno Stump. Okay? And you'll love him. You know, I heard this from several people. So I called and made an appointment for Pam, my wife, to go down there. And they were right. She loved him. And the first time she went to see him, he figured out what was wrong with her. She had thyroid issues, fairly serious thyroid issues, and it was just a matter of a few weeks, and they removed her thyroid. Not all of it. He left anyway, she was fine. So Dr. Stump is retiring at the end of August.
Oh no! Wow.
And we're still going to him.
No kidding.
40 years.
And how did this relate to?
Well, when she came home from the hospital, brought her in the door, you know, got her settled down. Knock on the door. John Dempsey. Big tray of food. How he even knew she was, I don't know, you know. But here he was. And he said, "This is not for you." Okay. Aye, aye, sir. He brought her soup and bread and those big muffins, you know. And he came, well, for about a week or 10 days. He came a couple, 3 times a week and brought her more food. And every time it was the same thing. "This is not for you. This is for your wife." and so that's really my first meeting and getting to know John Dempsey.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's a great way to meet somebody.
you bet. I mean, you can't ask for somebody to have a bigger heart than that. You know, he didn't really know us from Adam,
Yeah.
but
Well, so during the time we've covered in the last few minutes, you're fresh on the police force. Did you must have had to go get some training
oh yeah, I went to
because you didn't have any experience. Maybe were you in the military?
no.
Okay, so you had a lot of stuff to learn.
Yes, I did. And I went to the, God, I can't remember the name of the police academy, but it was at, in Florence. Okay?
Near the prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah, close. But
So you could practice on the prisoners?
No. Actually, I misspoke. It was Arizona, or some county, what we used to call junior colleges. They call them community colleges now.
Yeah.
In Coolidge. That's where the
Okay.
Signal Peak campus, which is kind of east of Coolidge and west of Florence, kind of right in the middle there. There's a mountain there called Signal Peak,
Okay.
and that's where the campus was. And I spent 12 weeks in
Okay.
the middle of the desert
Yeah.
down there.
Had you ever owned or fired a gun before? You had to,
Oh yeah, well, I'd
Okay.
done. You know, I'm
As a
not
kid?
particularly a gun guy.
yeah.
I had a shotgun, and I used to dove hunt. You know,
Oh, okay. So you were
quail,
familiar.
doves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't hunt now, and I haven't since I met my wife. Basically,
Okay.
we just
Yeah.
it's not my thing.
Kind of fades away, especially
Yeah.
when you're living in a city. And,
Well, I'd rather go look at the animals than shoot them.
right.
That's really my philosophy. So.
Yeah.
So I still have the gun I had when I was on the police department. I haven't. It's been up in the closet for this last time. I touched it when we moved from Jerome to Clarkdale, but I haven't touched it since. It's still up there where I put it.
Right. So what was your title? You were deputy or just a policeman?
Policeman. Yeah.
Okay. And it was still just you, the chief, and yourself?
Yeah. And then
And so what year are we getting into here?
78.
78, so just a year after you moved here. Mm-hmm. I'll be darned.
And I think by the end of 78, I was a sergeant.
You got a promotion.
Yep. And we had another guy. And then the next thing that happened, and that was the chief, Larry Garrison. I don't remember exactly the details, but he was going down to the Gulch area, and he had a Harley that he rode. I was the biker, but he had the Harley.
Were you literally a biker?
Me?
Yeah.
I rode a motorcycle to work when I lived in Long Beach,
Okay.
but it was a dirt bike.
All right. So the chief's going down on his.
Yeah, going down to respond to some call, and I don't know, it was the middle of the night, and it was just, you come around that turn there by the high school, and you start down.
Yes.
Right down there about halfway, he got off the side of the road in the gravelly, slippery, sandy stuff, and he put his brakes on too hard, front brake, and went over the handlebars and broke his neck. Or at least broke something in his spine, cervical spine, and he was in the hospital for quite a while.
Wow.
So at that point, I was here by myself for a while.
And how long had you been on the job? Well, you said you were a sergeant by this time.
Yeah, but
so you had
it was no more than a year.
Oh my goodness. A little nervous?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Fortunately, there was one police officer in Clarkdale who, if I needed some backup, he'd come.
Yeah.
But he was the only one down there too.
Wow.
So
Small places.
small
huh?
places.
Well, what kind of issues, calls did you deal with in that first couple of years?
A lot of them. One of the things that I really liked about Jerome at that time was a lot of the old timers, the real elderly ones. They had somebody in the town, and maybe even the town paid for this little thing. They put a little light on the windowsill, right? And it was operated from the bed. In most places, if people were in bed and they had a problem, they'd push that button and that light would come on. Now, sooner or later, the policeman would drive by, and we used to do that. We used to drive all over town, and we knew where those houses were, and we would just, everything's okay, And if you saw the light on, you better go and see what was going on, because somebody needed some help.
Right.
Another one of the things about this town that I really liked.
That's pretty quaint.
Okay.
And yeah.
And we know there were different kinds of issues, but mostly it were medical things.
Okay.
Okay. At that time, of course, the fire department was 100% volunteer at that time. It isn't any longer, but almost. There's only a couple guys that get any pay at all.
Rusty and Ron, I think.
Rusty and Ron, yeah, and Rusty has some funds that he can tell different guys, okay, I got a project here,
right?
And they'd get a little money for that, and that's all good,
Sure. Some of the tree trimming stuff around here and clearing.
When we started, nobody got anything except thank you, and if that wasn't enough. Wasn't always enough for me.
Do something else. Huh?
Most of us, towards maybe after 10 years or so, or 15 years, the council had a little extra money, and they decided to give us $5 a call. Now, that's better than a poke in the eye, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And they would save it up at maybe the first part of December. Each of us would get a check for our $5 each time we answered a call.
Okay.
And at that time, we were probably running 65, 75, 80 calls a year. So you do the math, And it was nice for, go out and buy a few Christmas presents for the family.
Sure.
Something like that.
So mostly medical calls for the older residents and...
At the beginning, the fire department did not respond to medical calls. Nobody was trained for it. And the folks that were prior to us, us are like Dave Hall and Phil Tovery, and there was a guy named, I lost his name, it'll come. Anyway, there was about 10 or 12 of us pretty regularly, and then we had a few others that would come and help if they were in town, but nobody knew how to do anything medical or even wanted to, mostly. Okay, and the police department, actually, my wife and I went to EMT classes, and we were the first 2 certified EMTs in Jerome.
Okay.
Just us.
No kidding. And no ambulance.
Oh, no, the ambulance came up from Cottonwood.
Now, did the fire department use that old truck at that time? The one that's parked at the town hall?
You better believe it.
Okay.
I got a great picture at home. It's about this big, a photo of me driving that old truck.
All right.
It's one of my favorite photos.
Yeah. Now, see, you hear stories and stuff about, you know, all the Hells Angels and bikers and stuff like that were coming through town back in those days. Were those issues that you had to deal with?
Absolutely. Fortunately, not too many times. And in those days, it was not Hells Angels.
Oh, really? Do you remember who?
Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen. That's right. They were Arizona specific, weren't they? Yeah. I'm
and I had
familiar
a
with
few
them.
interesting meetings with them.
Did they come in? They came in town as a group, of course.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then would they just kind of be the alpha males and kind of try to take over?
Sometimes, no problem at all.
Oh, no kidding.
Other times, look for some place to duck and cover, you know.
Really? What kind of, when they were in a bad mood, what kind of shit did they pull?
Well, I can remember one in particular, and I don't remember just exactly when it was, but it was probably in the early to mid 80s. Okay? And the Spirit Room was a place they would congregate, and they just, you know, a few too many beers or mixed drinks, and a few of them got pretty rowdy, and the next thing you know, they're roaring up and down Main Street when their girlfriends are all taking their shirts off, and, you know, that's the way it was going.
Okay.
Of course, you know, my phone rang a few times, and I had to go up there, and at that time, I don't remember exactly, but I believe there was 2 of us on the police department. And it probably was a fellow that worked for me for quite a while. His name was Jerry Lacey. Jerry was a super good guy, and he was a good policeman. We worked 24 on, 24 off. 24 on, so that's the way it went.
Oh, wow.
One of us.
So you'd be home for some of that, but you were on call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, they were getting pretty totally out of order, and you know, one of the things I didn't particularly care about in the line of police work was to deal with those kind of situations, but that's what they were paying me to do. So I found you know, those guys, they wear those cutaways, and they have little patches on them that say,
yes.
One guy, Prez, it would be one of them. Warlord would be one of them. And, you know, I happened to find those 2 guys. Well, I found the Warlord. The Prez was inside, okay? And I just said, yeah, I need to talk to you. And he wanted to know what the hell I wanted, what I was bothering him for, you know. And I told him, I said, you know, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. We don't want you here if that's the way you're going to act. He says, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, ain't too much I can do. I said, there's obviously a lot more of you than there is of me. I said, but if I was you, I would be worried because you're right here and I can do something about you. After that, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, whatever it is, it's going to happen. So he said, let me talk to the boys. And he talked a little bit. And he says, well, we're not inclined to leave right now. I said, well, this isn't a choice. I said, we're not asking you to leave. We're telling you to leave. Now, an interesting thing happened in that few minutes while he was talking to the boys. And because he was facing me, he couldn't see what was happening. And what that was a number of townspeople up there on those, you know, the steps across from Paul and Jerry's?
Yeah.
And then that
where the park
level
is?
goes across in front of the Spirit Room.
Yeah.
Well, some of the folks from town had gone home, got their shotguns and deer rifles, and
no shit.
That's exactly. And I was sitting there watching that happen, and I was thinking, whew, you know, like that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm getting nervous just listening to the story.
But when I saw, there was about, 6 or 8 of them up there. A couple of them were shop owners, and a couple of them were townspeople, you know. And I said, well, I can tell you this. I said, it's going to be a little tougher on you than it would have been 10 or 15 minutes ago. I said, if you'll turn around and look behind you. And he did that. And it didn't take him long to figure out that now not only was I in trouble, but so were they. Okay? So about 5 minutes after that, they gathered everybody up and left. Of course, they made lots of noise doing it, but they did it.
Wow. That's a hell of a story, Ron.
I went home and changed my shorts.
I don't blame you. Like I said, it's making me butterflies just listening to you. Wow. Well, that was a kind of seems like a life-changing experience.
It could have been. Yeah.
It could. I mean, just
Well, it's
your
just,
confidence and in yourself as a policeman. I think that was a threshold.
you know, I in that regard, I took the job seriously. These folks were paying me, not very much, but they were paying me what they could, and I knew that going in.
Right.
And that made me obligated to do what I could for them.
Yeah.
In my mind, anyway. I can't see it any other way.
No, how could you?
So,
So I imagine you and the guys up on the ledge there had maybe a shot or two after.
well, I'm really not much of a drinker.
Okay.
If you ask anybody around, they'll tell you that. I'm not much of a drinker, but I was pretty thankful for quite a long time to that group of people.
No kidding.
You bet. And you know, that led to, I didn't always have good times when I was on the police department by any stretch. I almost got put in jail once.
I have a feeling what you might be getting towards, but go ahead.
Well, it was a few years after that. And it was the big marijuana
Yes.
bust when everybody in town that was, well, me and the mayor.
And this was 80.
Yeah, 7, 8, something
Oh,
like
really?
that.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
4 or 5, I don't, you know.
Yes.
It was in that time period somewhere. And well, you've probably heard the story.
I've heard a little bit. I'm good friends with George Glassman.
Yeah.
And so George was on the council, and
Yes, he was.
told me about.
Well, he's one of the few that didn't go to jail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now. Who all? Jim Kinsella went to jail.
Oh, Jimmy. Yeah. Jaime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy and me were buddies for years.
I knew Jaime. He was still working the bar when I moved to town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Ann Bassett. See, this is where my memory gets. It isn't always great.
Right.
One fellow from Cottonwood, Bruce Brimhall, who was a Volkswagen mechanic, and he was always. This was his favorite place.
Okay. Now, can I ask you about this whole situation in depth? I mean, is this a place you don't want to go, or?
Hey, I was there.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
I mean, the only thing about it, it just makes me mad, and it makes me kind of disgusted with the political part of Yavapai County at that time.
Right.
And,
I mean,
and the state police.
Let's look today. We've got 5 states in the country that have legalized pot.
And
it's mostly legal for medical reasons in probably 20 or 30 states.
Well, this one being one of them.
And this one being one of them.
It'll change.
Yeah.
It'll change.
It will.
But it'll do it at its own time. You know, and pace. When this whole thing went down, the guy who was involved criminally the most was their snitch.
Right. What was that guy's name? Richard Martin told me about
James Farnstrom.
Right, James Farnstrom. Now, I want to explore this story a little bit because it's an interesting part of Jerome's history. So I want to back up a little bit so I understand. I do, and you can correct me and fill in. As I understand, there were many residents of Jerome who were growing up on the mountain and selling marijuana.
Some, yeah.
Some, and that
Some of them weren't from Jerome either.
okay, all right, yeah, but they had a whole watering system and everything going on up there,
correct.
and it was a fairly healthy business. And then okay, the part I'm not clear on is your involvement with all that.
That's because I didn't have any.
Okay. See, I've heard, it's a small town, so
Sure.
you hear, so I want to clear that up. But you weren't part of the busting.
No.
You were just the town policeman, and
That's right.
the feds came in from the outside, or state police?
State.
Okay. All right. Just want to clear that up. So please pick up the story.
Well, I was given the opportunity to join in the movement.
The official side.
Yes.
Okay.
And I gracefully declined. I said, I work
For these
for
people.
these people in this town, and I'm not inclined to get involved.
Wow. Did they have a problem with that?
Oh,
I bet they did.
you bet they did.
Yeah. They try to mess with you?
They put me in jail.
They did.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
When the raid itself happened,
Yeah.
I was in California.
In jail?
No, visiting my family
Oh.
and my wife's family.
So there was an understanding that you might, wow, that went fast. All right, don't lose your train of thought.
The train may pull into the station.
Hold on a second. Oops. I'm getting excited. All right, we're going to leave that on. Take that off. So I'll do that trick again. We are looking good on battery here. We just want to. Okay. We're getting a little low on that one. Yeah, don't lose your train of thought, Rob.
Okay.
We're at like the climax of the movie here. I'm dying to ask more questions right now, but I better stop myself. There. What's going on here? There we go. All right, just about back with you. Looking good, Ron.
All right. Well, I bet these lights suck the power.
No, they're LEDs.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, so they don't get hot and.
I was
they're-
noticing it's not getting hot in
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
so-
yeah. Of course, I got a vent right there, but yeah, these don't get warm, so it keeps everybody comfortable. These are low power. All right. And I gotta do my official clap. This is the way I sync up the sound with the video.
Oh,
If I got that loud clap,
look at you go.
I can look at the audio frequency and I can see the spike, and so I just slide them together.
I'll be darned.
You're wondering what that was. That's why they do it in the movies too. Now, I just managed to lose my clip. Good thing I got a second one. All right. Oh, there it is. Hello. I got too many responsibilities.
I got almost none these days, and it's just the way I like it.
Okay. All right. All right. So you went to California to
Yeah,
Long
I was
Beach.
on vacation.
Oh, it wasn't on purpose?
No,
I mean, you know
no,
what I'm
it was
saying.
just it was just dumb blind luck.
No kidding.
Yeah, they set off the fire siren here, 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm just telling you this. I wasn't here, right?
Okay, so they might have just waited for that opportunity.
Well, they had it all
because
planned.
they already knew that you didn't want to be involved.
Yeah, but I'm sure they didn't have any idea I was gone
Huh.
either,
Interesting.
because I'd only been gone a couple of days at that time.
Yeah.
You know, it was orchestrated. They had it all, all planned out, and they set off that fire siren and just came down on everybody. They had arrest warrants for 3 of the council people, me.
They had arrest warrant for you.
Oh yeah, because they charged me with 6 felonies.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Things like hindering prosecution and conspiracy to do this and that.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I did go to see a lawyer, and I was fortunate. Over the years, I had been in court a lot of times doing my job.
Right.
And I had got to watch a lot of lawyers at work. And I thought of him. His name was John Stallings. He was a lawyer over in Prescott, who later became a state court of appeals judge or some big. He got fairly high up in the hierarchy of judges.
Okay.
But I went over and I talked to him, and he was familiar with me, and so he had a question for me. He said, "Why did you come and see me? I don't do drug cases." And I said, "I know that, John, but," I said, "I came to you because I think you're a good man. And I think you're an honest man." And he said, "I don't know what I want to do about this." He said, "Give me 24 hours. Give me a day or two to decide whether I'll take your case or not." And I said, "Okay, that's reasonable."
Pretty special situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he called me back a couple days later, and he said, "I've decided I'm going to take your case." And I said, "Well, thank you, John, because frankly, I don't know who else I would have asked." So at that time, his fee was $5,000. And he said, are you going to be able to do that? And I said, "If you're patient, eventually." I said, I'll get it together. Well, here comes another part of the reason why I loved living here so much. Okay. A few days later, I got a call. Well, I didn't get a call. I met this lady on the street. Her name was Lana Ivy, and she and Ellen Boynick used to do a lot of the things, the little town things that they do, like the home tour and,
Sure.
and things like that.
Yeah.
They were the ones that got those things all organized for years. Okay. And Lana stopped me on the street and she said, "Ron," she said, "I know you're having some problems right now." So she said, "I got something for you." She said, "I went around and talked to some of the merchants and some of the locals, and she said, I hope this helps you." And she handed me $1,600.
Wow.
Now these people, a lot of them weren't making any more money than I was,
Right.
but the people of this town got, with her hand out, they raised that much money for me in a couple of days. And I said, "Well, Lana," I said, "I really appreciate it." And I said, "Don't for a minute think I'm not going to take it." I said, "I haven't got any money, And as the case went on, Stallings told me that he says, this case is never going to go to trial. He says, I'm not going to do it that way. He says, I got my own way of doing things. And bless his heart, he did. He actually, he went to the judge. And he said, we're going to plead here, if and this, and whatever he said, I was not involved, But the judge agreed with him. Judge also being somebody that knew him well. And when it all came down, John Stallings said to me, he said, I want you to bring, when your day in court comes up, I want you to have provided the judge with some letters from people in Jerome, character references. I said, all right, John, I'll do what I can, And I'm obviously my wife, my kids, my mother-in-law, my wife's aunt. I got letters from them. And then I asked a few people, around town. And probably altogether 12, 14, maybe 15 people I asked. And when it came down to the court appearance, the judge was talking about, he said, one of the things that we did here is we got some letters of reference. And he said, I don't remember exactly how he put it, but he said, I'm amazed at what I have here. It's going to get me all misty just talking about it. And he held up this pile of letters. He said, I have 56 letters here. I didn't ask for them. I didn't even know that they existed until he showed them to me. And they were all people giving me character references.
Yeah.
Chokes me up, I'm telling you.
I don't blame you.
So there's another reason why I love this place.
Yeah.
Okay. It was different in a lot of ways, and not all of them were good, Jerome. But most of them were.
Yeah.
And, well, that's that story.
Well, what, so you were acquitted?
No.
What?
I was not acquitted.
No?
No. Basically, 6 felony charges. 4 of them were dropped completely. Okay? The 2 that were not dropped were hindering prosecution. And they were class 6 felonies. Okay? But the judge made it real clear that it would be his discretion whether they finally became class 6 felonies or class 1 misdemeanors.
Right.
And they became class 1 misdemeanors.
So, and that was the difference in keeping your job or not, I bet.
Oh, no, that was gone.
You lost your job?
Oh, I quit. I had turned in my resignation right away.
No kidding.
Sure. I mean, I told John Stallings, I said, I'm guilty. I'm not guilty of all of this crap.
Right.
But what I am guilty of is talking face to face with, just lost his name, the snitch.
Okay.
Okay? He came and got in my face 2 times, and they recorded him. Okay? So the only thing I actually did was say some things. Okay? My own fault for not being smart enough to figure out what was going on.
Right.
Okay? So I made some statements that they figured were hindering prosecution. And I pled guilty to that because I did it.
Right.
I'm an honest person, you know?
You sure give me that impression, Ron.
And that's what I told John Stallings. And when I got all through telling him about the whole thing, that's why he took the case. Because he liked what he heard.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, and don't worry, he said, I can beat this. He said, I can beat this. And he did.
Huh. So now, so that was the end of your.
I did 1 day in jail,
Okay.
24 hours.
But did you get rehired as
No.
police chief?
Oh, no, no, no. The state of Arizona took my certification away.
Oh, bummer. And what year was that? 80.
Early 80s
Eight.
to
Oh my
mid
God.
80s.
So
80 something. And maybe it was 85,
yeah,
87.
yeah. And how
know.
old were you at that point?
40 something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I could tell you stories about my sister's breast cancer and how the town came together for her for benefits and all that.
I'm telling you.
And I've seen it 100 times since I've been here. And you're right. It chokes me up thinking about it.
This
Yeah.
place has a lot of heart and soul.
No kidding.
And although I think maybe right now today it's not quite as good as it used to be,
Yeah.
but that's once again that's just my opinion, you
Well,
know.
I've been here 24 years now, and I've seen some changes.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about that myself.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we've got close to 2 million people coming through here a
Right.
year now, and people buying homes are different, and
Yes.
they're still relatively decent people, but you could say that there's a gentrification slowly coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most places don't resist at all, but this place does resist.
Yes, it does.
So it's a little more of a creep than a overtake.
Right.
Yeah.
And the group of people like Richard Martin
Mm-hmm.
and like Lou Courier, although I can never say I agreed with everything that Lou had to say, I can say this: I know where it came from. It came from his heart,
Right.
and you pick and choose, you know. Okay, I love that one, Lou, but I'm not so crazy about that one. But he's a good,
Yeah.
well-meaning person.
How was well? Lou's been involved with town government for on and off
Many
for
years. Yes.
What was town government like back then?
Well, it was once again part of the reason I moved here. You know, it was a good place to be. People like Al Palmieri.
Right.
You know, Al and I were very similar in that we were at one time or another involved in almost every part of the town government.
I'm trying to get Al up here or go down and see him.
Well, I'll tell you what. You may not be able to get him up here. I understand he's
Yeah.
slipping.
Yes.
But you know, I probably would not mind knowing where he is, because I would probably go see him.
Okay, I can find that out.
I'm that fond of Al.
Oh, no kidding. Well, he was my neighbor for years.
Yeah, well, he was my friend for 30 years.
Yeah.
Good man. Obnoxious, ornery,
Oh yeah.
feisty,
I've seen that.
all of that stuff. But a good guy.
Yeah.
Just a good guy. He actually, Al Palmieri, is the reason that I have any kind of a retirement from the town of Jerome.
No kidding.
Yep. And I didn't even know he did it for years.
Really? He had a retirement thing going for you while you were on the police department, and you weren't aware of it.
And yeah, and
I'll
not
be
only
damned.
the police department, while I was the town manager, while I was the public works director,
Oh.
all,
Well, that was my next question. Where'd you go after the police department?
well, I went
That's
back and
where,
forth
huh?
a couple of times
From police to...
to driving the garbage truck and roto-rooting the sewers and being the water system operator, sewer system operator, sewer collection system operator, and water distribution system operator.
No kidding. Now,
I had to get certified for all four of those, state certification.
Let me get this clear. You were doing this stuff after you left the police department because of the drug deal?
And no, sometime, yes.
But also doing it while you were police chief?
Yes.
Okay.
I was the town manager while I was a police chief.
Oh, wow.
I was on the fire department the whole time I was on the police department.
Right.
And actually, my wife and I, being the first two EMTs, were a small part of the reason why the fire department now goes on medical calls.
Well, yeah, they train quite a bit these days.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, it's all just all together,
And
you
it-
know.
Well, you planted the seed.
Well, it had to happen.
Yeah.
It had to happen.
Right.
I mean, if you look, there are no fire departments that I know of anymore that don't do medical calls.
Of course. They're
Matter of
usually,
fact, they're calling themselves fire and medical departments
yeah,
nowadays.
and oftentimes they're the first on the scene. So were you involved with Richard in infrastructure and the water system and all
Completely.
that stuff? I mean, tell me
Completely.
some stories about that. I mean,
Richard
this is,
Richard
it's
was
kind of a miracle we've got water in this town, from
yes,
what
it
I
is.
gather.
Yes, it is. And Richard's certainly part of the reason,
Yes.
as is Jamie Moffat.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Jamie was on the council at that time, and he took a real shine to the water and the situations and problems with our water system.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about another old-time Jerome resident that I had a world of respect for, was Duke Cannell.
Oh, I don't know him at all.
You should have. You should have. You would have really liked Duke. Duke was a cowboy, is what he was. And he worked for Phelps Dodge for many years in different jobs, but I mean, he used to drive the snow plow on Mingus Mountain, and he used to do all kinds of things.
Okay.
There used to be trestles,
Okay. Yeah.
wooden trestles,
Yeah.
that the pipes used to go across,
Run across.
and I used to walk them.
Huh.
Well, I'm not the only one that used to walk them,
I'm sure.
but Jerry Voynick used to laugh. Doing that in the summertime, I'd walk from Walnut Springs, follow the old pipeline that's not in the road
Yeah.
before the new one went in, and by the time I got into town, I was seriously thirsty. Right? Now, I told you I'm not much of a drinker, but one day I remember I walked in there, and just me walking in there, not in my police uniform, I'm not a, bars to me aren't fun.
Okay.
I connect them with work. Okay? So either I was tending bar or I was dealing with the things that happen in bars as a policeman. Okay, so I walked in, Jerry was behind the bar, he said, "What the hell are you doing in here?" I said, "I'm thirsty, Jerry. I just walked the pipeline." I said, "Give me a beer." And I think I chug-a-lugged the whole damn thing and asked him for another one. And he says, "You know what?" He says, "I'm going to write this down somewhere." He said, "Them beers are on me." He said. Jerry and I used to spend a lot of time talking at night, early on when I was first on the police department, because I was learning stuff from him.
Oh yeah.
And he then had somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times there'd only be one person in the bar, sometimes none.
Yeah.
So Jerry, I'm sure, was a fountain of information for you.
He was. I had Ellen sit in with him too, because he's had some health issues lately. So he was his memory was not as good as I wish I had caught him earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been.
But Ellen is still sharp as a tack. and
You
so
bet she is.
I love her. I
She's
just love her to death.
She's another sweetheart, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well.
So there. Now, I as far as Duke goes,
Now Duke's passed on.
yes,
Okay.
Duke actually, bless his heart, took his own life.
Oh.
He came up with either dementia or Alzheimer's. Back then, I don't think they were sure that they were even different.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But he knew that something was not going right with him, and he sent Dorothy, his wife, into town, and took his shotgun and went out. He lived up on Company Hill,
Okay.
and he went out a couple hundred yards from the house and
Oh boy.
ate his shotgun, and when she got home, she didn't know where he was. And they were married, probably longer than my wife and I have been married, and they were always together, always.
Oh my.
And so she called, said, I can't find Duke. I don't know where he is. So I called Jimmy Kinsella, and we called a couple other people from the fire department, and we went up to the house and went looking for him.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I wasn't the one that had to find him, but Jimmy was. Jimmy found him, and
Right.
sad day.
Yeah.
Another super good person
Yeah.
was Duke. So
Well, what would you attribute to? I mean, my sense is, since I've been here, and we both talked about, people helping each other out,
mm-hmm.
and I'm often curious what it is about the town that attracts a certain kind of person. You got any highfalutin theories about how it ends up that way?
Probably the way I got here is the same way many of these folks got here. Somebody knew somebody else and said, hey man, you ought to come check this place out. This is cool,
Right.
And this one brings that one, and this one tells his brother or sister, come, and and it just, that's the way it
As
happened.
long as the ones that started out are good people, then
Yeah.
they're definitely
And-
usually
and-
connected to other good people.
And there were, have you talked to anybody yet who mentioned to you the lawsuit that was brought against the town
No,
by Doc Joe Beckerich, Papa Lozano? See, here we go again. There was 3 of them, all old timers.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just picking my words here. It's my humble opinion that those people were very, very strongly influenced. Oh, Alfredo, no, never mind. Very strongly influenced by a guy that was living here at that time, who had some kind of an ulterior motive. He hated hippies. And he really hated anybody that had anything to do with any kind of drugs.
Okay.
Okay? I mean, it was an intense hate. I mean, I witnessed it. He didn't like me at all. Because my views were not even close to where his were. And he just figured that the hippies that were growing pot up here had me in their pocket, right?
Right.
Well, I liked all of them. I did like them, but that's not what was going on at all. But I could have never, under any circumstances, have convinced him of that.
Right.
Now, this old, let me get where I'm at here. The old gas station right down here.
Yeah, the Mohawk.
Yeah, no, just right on the lower hogback.
Oh, I didn't know there was a gas station.
Well, if you look at the building, you can't miss it. It's the one that has all that brass pottery and brass.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's
All
got
right.
it's got
Yeah. No, I know which one now.
That's a
didn't know
gas
it.
station.
I guess when you think about it, it
Yeah.
probably was.
Yeah, there used to be another one between the 2 roads that go out off the point behind the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be another one there.
We could use one of those.
Yeah, and then there used to be one at the Gateway Cafe. That's the old gas station. That was a cafe down the bottom of the last building going out of town.
Yeah. Now that's the Mohawk, or what they
That's
called Mohawk.
nothing. No, that's a movie.
Okay, a prop. Yeah.
They came here
Right.
and they painted that building.
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah.
But it's how we all reference it
Well,
now. Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. That's the Gateway Cafe,
Okay.
is what it is.
Good to know.
From us. All right. So anyway, that guy's name, and this is a historical document, right? That you're making here.
Yes.
Yeah. That guy's name was Steve Stevenson. Okay. He just showed up here one time. He's dead. You're not gonna.
No, but
You
I
know.
may ask somebody else about him.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Steve Stevenson convinced these 3 old guys to sue the town. Okay? Because of all the things that he didn't like that were going on here.
Right.
I mean, you're hearing this from my point of view.
Okay.
Okay? May not be exactly really what happened, but that's my perception of what happened.
That's okay.
You know. And he told me this was coming. He says, "How many?" And he hid behind the whole 3 guys, you know, and pushed them into, pumped them all up and got them filled full of spite over this stuff that was going on, and they were ruining their town.
Right.
Okay? And that was actually right about the time that all this came down on the people on the town council, and I'm sure he was at the bottom of it.
Huh.
Just, you know, and then after all that happened, he left.
We just came in, caused trouble, and it split.
Yeah, it might have been a little while after that, but he did leave.